Ochart here. Thank you so much for tuning in. And the response to the 6 must-haves that I posted previously, and I'll put a link to the video up here, it got such a good response that I decided to go ahead and do a follow-up with 6 more things. 6 more things that I consider to be must-haves in the hobby and that I strongly encourage you to have on hand. And the first one, of course, is, as you might imagine, a siphon system, and in this case, I highly recommend that you get this system here by Python, because you can use this knob. This bulb here can be squeezed and start the siphon. And what that does is it'll prevent you from actually having to swallow tank water on a regular basis, which though I don't think it's harmful for you, it's probably not that pleasant. So get yourself a siphon with one of these bulbs on the end that you can squeeze to start the siphon cycle. It actually is sort of a game changer. The other thing I recommend is that you keep a log, that you keep a fish keeping log. And I keep mine currently on my phone. You can get apps at the store, the App Store, and that actually are fish related, and they're very often free. But in my case, for a long time, I was just keeping this written log, and it comes in handy because you can go back and see when you started using a certain kind of media, and then compare that to what your nitrates are doing now versus before. You can also compare or look up when you did a certain maintenance. For some of us, especially if you have a lot of tanks, you can forget when did I service? When was the last time I serviced that canister? So all I do is look in here, look in my log, and in my case on my phone, and it tells me that my last service was 2 months ago, and so okay, I should crack it open, take a look, and see if it needs some work again. So definitely keep a fish keeping log, not only just for your maintenance, but also for any changes, the addition of a fish, the removal of a fish, all these things you can go back and look at and actually learn something from and get some valuable information. So number 2 is keep a log. Number 3 is go online and buy pond sponges. These are pond filter sponges. They come in coarse, medium, and fine. I suggest that you get what are called the egg crate. The egg crate, because they have more surface area by design, so they can catch more detritus, and so they can actually run a little bit longer than, let's say, a flat surface, and you can cut them to size. I put them in canisters. I put them in hang-on back filters. I don't buy the manufacturer or factory cartridges that you put into hang-on back filters. I just cut these kinds of sponges, and I use them. I pull them out, rinse them in tank water, put them back in. You can go for years with these things. They don't really deteriorate, and they are aquarium safe. You can pick them up under the name Pond Sponges on eBay or Amazon. And the other thing I recommend, and I guess this is number 4, is that you do an online search and pick up one of these things. This thing for me has been a real, it just really comes in handy. Look at this thing. This is a sort of a snake or a pipe cleaner, and it comes with a smaller and a larger end, and you can run this down hoses. You can put it into hoses to clean hoses out. You can run it down pipes, the pipes of your canister or hang-on back filters, and look at the length on this thing, and it's very sturdy, so you can actually push it a long ways into the tubing, and so this comes in really, really handy. I suggest you get online. They're very inexpensive, $6-7, and they're great. Get a nice long one. Be sure it's metal so that you can push it pretty with some firmness in it, and it holds together. The next thing I'll suggest, and if I run over the 6, if I give you a few extra ones, I probably will, is get yourself a high-powered flashlight. This is a very, very high-powered flashlight, and what I do is when you're working under cabinets or areas that are not well lit, definitely get yourself something like this. You can do inspections of hose connections, things of that nature, and keep one of these handy. I keep one near the tank so I can look under every now and then, see if I can spot an area of moisture, things of that nature. Also, just as a bonus tip, in any hardware store or online, you can pick up those lights that you can attach to the bottom of the tank in your cabinet. And these are lights that they just they attach with a little bit of Velcro, and they last a very long time, and they provide a lot of light under the cabinets. So those are really, really good. I highly recommend those as well as a flashlight that lets you really inspect to make sure nothing is strange or going on underneath your cabinet. And the next thing I suggest is a long hose system, and I've tried several of them, and I really like the Python, the sturdiness and the ruggedness of the Python system. I've tried I've used the Aqueon. This is Aqueon. This is an Aqueon system, and I've had two of these crack on me down in here. They crack, and maybe the newer ones are more sturdy, but this one cracked and twice. So I had to reorder this section and cannibalize an old one for another part that cracked. So I don't recommend the Aqueon, but I do recommend that you do have a long hose system that you can attach to a tap that runs into your tank. And buy yourself some safe, some Seachem Safe. 1/4 teaspoon treats 75 gallons. So stuff lasts forever. I pour it in as the water is coming in from the tap, and I've never had a negative incident with my fish. But of the two, between Aqueon and Python, I highly recommend the Python. Much sturdier, and I recommend that you have a long hose system. This is a 50-foot system. I recommend you do it. Why? Because if something is easier, you're more likely to do it. And if you're on bucket brigade and you're having to lug these buckets and you're not feeling it someday, you know what? You're going to skip a water change. You're going to get a little lazy. And so the easier you can make maintenance, the better overall health of your fish, the better overall chance that you'll actually do it. Okay, so if it's easier, you'll probably be more likely to do it. So definitely get a long hose system that you can run from a tap to your tank, and then you can treat your tank with something relatively inexpensive like Seachem Safe, which has worked for me tremendously. And the last two bonus tips I'm going to give you, which were suggested by some of the folks who commented under the last video, a couple of bonus tips. One is get yourself a sponge filter, and put it in the back corner, of your tank, or put it in a sump, put it somewhere, and just have that extra sponge that is seeded with beneficial bacteria. And that way, if you ever need to set up an emergency or hospital tank, you can just pull that sponge out, fill up a small container with some tank water, put the sponge in with a of course with a pump, with a small air pump, and you're good to go. You're all set. You have a hospital tank. So have a sponge filter going. And also another tip that one of you suggested under the last video was a battery powered pump, and that I think is a great idea. I know that Cobalt has one that actually plugs into the wall, so it's always charged, and you can run the airline into your tank with a stone, and it will kick on if you have a power outage. So it senses when there's a power outage. Okay, you're 3 hours away, you're 2 hours away on business, whatever, you have a power outage, you know your fish are not going to get oxygen starved. And that is probably what kills the fish first when you have a power outage. The oxygen in the water not being agitated at all, having no surface tension breakup to allow the CO2 and the waste to escape and oxygen to come in, that's what kills off the fish in a power outage. So get some battery powered pumps, and my suggestion, if you can find them and can afford them, of course, if it fits your budget, pick up the Cobalt ones that actually plug into the wall and sense a power outage and kick on immediately when there is one. Okay, so those are my suggestions. I probably gave you more than 6. I tend to do that, and I appreciate you tuning in. Be sure to rate and comment and share if you like this video. And join me on most Saturdays, probably not after holidays like Thanksgiving, but join me on most Saturdays for a Coffee and Cichlids, or Cichlids and Coffee, however you prefer, live stream. And be sure to come check us out over at BEN.O.CICHLID, great fish keeping group, very friendly and helpful. And if you care to, follow on Instagram at BEN.O.CICHLID. All right, that's all for me. Thank you so much for tuning in.